Hey family, how are you doing today? Hope you are having a lovely day. So on this episode of Terry Ann Talks Narc Talk, we are going to be discussing how a narcissist invalidates your traumas. Okay, let's talk about it. So one thing that a narcissist has the tendency to do, whether they are male, whether they are female. Now, this specific incident that I'm going to be addressing and referencing to was with a narcissistic female. And this was an acquaintance. This wasn't a friend. This was an acquaintance of mine that lives in my neighborhood. And I'm going to be giving like real life examples to help you understand. But let's talk about it. So what the narcissist will do is a narcissist will invalidate somebody else's trauma and pain that they have gone through. And the irony is, a lot of times narcissists will invite you to be vulnerable with them, to share with them your vulnerability, to share with them exactly what you're going through, what you're dealing with. Like they'll ask, okay, well, what's going on with you? And what's going on with this? But here's the kicker. They are not asking you this because they have genuine concern that they are expressing. They're not expressing that genuine concern with pure intention for you. What they want is they want to know your information for a multitude of reasons. One is to invalidate your experience, invalidate your traumas, invalidate your pain. Even if they weren't even there when you experienced it, they just like to invalidate your traumas to gaslight you, because one of the main qualities of narcissism is gaslighting. They gaslight like it's their second language. Gaslighting is their middle name. They love to deny people's reality. They love to stir up confusion in people. They love to use people's vulnerabilities against them. So they will ask you to open up about your traumas just to invalidate it. It's very sadistic. Another thing that they like to do is they like to throw your traumas back in your face. And they can do this in a very quote unquote joking way, but there's nothing laughable or joking about someone throwing your trauma in their face. Now, the only person that has the right to joke about the trauma that they've been through is the person that has been through it. Like how Kevin Hart goes, laugh at my pain. And most comedians, a lot of times what makes comedians so funny is they're telling real life stories that happen to them, and they do it in such a funny way to make everybody laugh, because laughs keep from crying. Kevin Hart will talk about stuff that he's been through, but he'll do it in such a comedic way to just make you laugh. So he's making light of his situation. Now that's appropriate if someone can make a joke about their own traumas, but it's wrong to make jokes about somebody else's traumas, because you have no idea what they've been through. You have no idea the type of pain that they are in, because in making joke of somebody else's traumas is making light of their pain. You're laughing at someone else's pain. You are making a mockery out of somebody else's pain when you have no idea how much they are struggling. But this show, to empaths, the people that have a heart, that's common sense to us. We understand that. But to these narcissists, they do inhumane things. They do things that's like a decent human wouldn't do something like that, because they're not decent humans. They're wicked in spirit. That's why they do things like that to people. They love to throw people's traumas back in their face just to make them feel bad, just to hurt them even more, because narcissists love to hurt people while they are already down. I'll say that again. Narcissists love to hurt people while they are already down. It gives them fuel, because narcissists are miserable people. So when they see other people experiencing misery or bad situations, they're going to make light of it. They're going to be dancing around happy about it and making you feel bad in the process, throwing it in your face just to fuel their own ego, just so they can feel better about themselves. They have to stoop so low to feel like they are above you because they are that much beneath you. They are that low of a person because of how wicked they are, of how low vibrational they are. That's how low of a person that they are. They have to come all the way down, bring people all the way down just so they can step on them. It's like they have to bring people all the way to the ground just so they can step on you. You see what I'm saying? So let me give you an example of what that is like. And if this is your first time ever listening to me, one thing you got to know about Terry Ann Bell, she's very transparent. She wears her heart on her sleeve, and I am not afraid to be vulnerable. Okay. I love to be transparent. I love to use my own real life experiences to help deliver a message. So if there's anything that seems, if it's personal, I'm okay with sharing it. All right. Okay. But trigger warning. So listen, this incident occurred last year. It was, when was it? It was late summer. It was late summer when this occurred. And basically what happened is I was, walking around my neighborhood. It was late at night, or it was dark outside by this time. So it's late at night, and I'm walking around my neighborhood. I'm going to go smoke or whatever. That's like my little thing. So what happens is I run into this neighbor of mine. This neighbor is a dog sitter, was walking the dog that, she dog sits. And what happened is, as soon as I kind of like walk out of my apartment building and I walk out to the front and I'm getting ready to walk on the sidewalk, there she was. And I ran into her and I'm like, all right, so we spoke or whatever. We started having a conversation. Now, an important thing to remind you of is that this is 2022 when this happened, late summer 2022. Now, this neighbor of mine, we were once cool when we had met the year before in 2021, but she was doing a lot of weird things that I didn't really like, and I ended up cutting her off and ghosting her because I was seeing that she had a lot of narcissistic qualities, and I had to cut her off. So then a whole year later, she kind of like started wheezing her way back into my life. And a couple of incidents that happened when I ran into her is when she was outside walking her dog and would like walk in the direction of my apartment so I could run into her. Like, I'm beginning to think that she was kind of planning and doing something like this on purpose just so she can get into my energy. Anyway, so what happened is that we were having a conversation that night. And she started telling me about what she's got going on in her life. And then she goes, okay, so what's going on with you? So then I am basically saying like, okay, well, I'm just walking around because I'm trying to calm myself down. I'm just a little upset right now. Like, I'm feeling triggered because and I had even opened up to her about my incident. And I'm like, well, you know how I told you how I was sexually assaulted, a few years back, right? In 2018, I told you about this. And she's like, yeah. I'm like, well, another incident happened again earlier this year in February. And it really just kind of sent me on this downward spiral because this was the second time this happened to me. Now, the very first thing that she says after I told her that I was assaulted in the beginning of 2022, in February of that year, the very first thing that she says after that was, oh, well, my ex raped me 3 months ago. So when I say, oh, yeah, well, I was raped in February, she goes, well, my ex raped me 3 months ago. Right then and there, I want to address this real quick. She was lying. She was definitely lying. Narcissist lie. And she specifically is a big pathological liar. She lied a lot when I was cool with her. And that was another reason why I decided to stay away from her, because I'm not about to form a friendship with a grown-ass woman that is lying like it is her second language. No, that is immature. That is not a quality that I have. That's not a quality that I value. So I'm not going to have anybody around me that has that quality. No, I'm an honest person. I'm not going to be around a liar. So that was one thing. They lie all the time. And then for a person to think, well, why would someone lie about being raped? Narcissists lie about anything. They will lie about anything. Even when they know what they are saying isn't true, they still will lie. You want to give me another real world example? Yolanda Saldivar, the woman that murdered Selena, shot Selena, to this day is denying killing her. You have interviews, you say, Yolanda, did you shoot Selena? I didn't shoot her. I didn't kill her. I didn't do it. I didn't do it on purpose. Sick woman. A sick woman. Because she's a narcissist too. Sick. They still lie to this day. So narcissists will lie about stuff like that. Think about those girls, like that friend group that murdered Shanquella Robinson. They came back and went to her family and said, oh, she died of alcohol poisoning, knowing that they killed her, knowing that they tried to cover it up and cover their tracks. They lie. That narcissistic spirit will lie. I'm telling you, it's inhumane. So think about it this way. A normal person, a good person is not going to lie about things like that because we have a heart, we have a conscience. These people do not have a clear conscience. They have a conscience of evil, of wickedness, of power, of control, of I'll do whatever it is I can to gain supply, of coercion, manipulation, deception. That is in their conscience. Deception is lying. They're full of deception. So yes, she was lying about that. And let me think about it. It's because narcissists always feel the need to one-up people. Even when it comes to traumas, they want to make it seem like their trauma is worse, or their trauma is bad because their trauma is worse because it happened more recent. Like, oh, that's how I could one-up you. Mine happened more recently. It was weird, guys. And when I tell you, family, when she said this to me, I didn't have a response. I didn't because I was stuck in the moment, because I'm just thinking my gut was telling me this is not true, but my flesh wasn't able to get that out. So I didn't say anything. I kind of just looked at her when she said this to me. And then she kind of just went on with her, went on with the conversation. And it's and another thing about that is that sometimes what happens with when people do stuff like that, for me personally, when people do things and I can feel that they are lying to me, it's difficult for me it has been difficult for me in the moment to address it then and there. This also kind of boils down to the fact that I'm autistic. So when my brain is trying to formulate, it's because if what I'm seeing does not align with what I'm feeling, my brain is going to just really be trying to process everything. And I have delayed responses because of the processing. We take slower time to process things. Okay, so another reason why I wasn't able to really respond right away, but something was telling me in that moment that this girl is lying to me. And, a regular person you would say that to them. A regular person would say, oh, well, I'm so sorry that happened to you. But for them to easily be like, oh, yeah, it happened to me too, but it happened to me more recent than yours. Yeah, yours happened 8 months ago. Mine happened 3. What? And the thing is, people don't even realize what they're doing when they speak over their life like that. If a person can speak over their life like that, it's just crazy. What she was trying to do was she was trying to form a trauma bond with me. She was trying to and that's the thing with narcissists. They love to trauma bond. They love to mirror. They love to just say everything that's going on in your life is going on in my life too. They love to trauma bond because they want for you to get close to them. It's it was a decoy as a way for her to get into my energy. And I thought it was very weird and off-putting. I'm you're lying on yourself like that just so you can get in my energy? Girl, please. You lucky I'm calling you girl and I'm not calling you a female dog, because I don't want to do that. But even though she was acting like one. But, okay, moving forward. So that was one thing is to address, is that they definitely lie about stuff like that and they want to form these trauma bonds. But the weird thing about it is how they want to form these trauma bonds just so they can invalidate your traumas. Because they're not wanting to work through their traumas. They're not wanting to heal and deal with those wounds and face their demons. They don't want to. So they would rather just tell people to just get over it and let it go. Like, it happened to me and I let it go. You should let it go too. That's why they do stuff like that, to invalidate your experience. So one thing that she did, that she threw my trauma in my face, was that I'm going to have to be very transparent with you. So my second rape was me being sexually coerced into performing oral on this boy. Okay. And I'm not going to get into any detail about that. And none of you were there. None of you know what was going on. But I was in a very, very dark place, dealing with seasonal depression. My discernment was very off. I was even texting the suicide hotline earlier that day. So I was not grounded at all. And that's why the devil was able to spiritually attack me that day. That's what I see it as. It was a spiritual attack. I didn't have my armor on. I wasn't giving myself that extra protection. I wasn't discerning. And I wasn't listening to my intuition. And then that's what happened. The devil was able to come in and attack me. But beside the point, we're going to get past that. So what happened is that he coerced me into performing oral on him. And when I mentioned this to her, I had to tell her what happened because, that's another form of rape. I had to tell her, I gave her the detail. And then what she did immediately is she goes, oh, well, she said this. She's like, oh, well, that's okay. Well, if I was in that situation, I would never do that. I mean, if it was my man, if it was my husband, and we're driving the expressway, then I absolutely would do that. Not some dude that I just met. But if it was my man, if it was my boyfriend, I would definitely do that. Not some dude that I have just met that day. But I would definitely do that with my boyfriend, but not some man that I just met. She said this 3 times, family, 3 times. And she said this to my face. And once again, in the moment, I'm thinking, I'm like, okay, this is not making me feel good. This feels like she's throwing shade at me. This feels like she's making a mockery of me. That's what my intuition was telling me, because the energy I was feeling was making me very uneasy, and it was very unsettling. That's what I was feeling in the moment. But because she was doing it in a joking way, it was hard for my brain to process that situation in the moment. And that's another thing about me going back to being autistic. Social interactions have been difficult like that, where I'm not fully aware that that she was really being abusive and throwing shade, because my brain wasn't able to process it in the moment. You know what I'm saying? And it took time for me to think about it. And it was just like I thought about that for a couple of weeks. And then finally, I'm like, no. I'm not going to gaslight myself. I know what I felt. This is your sign, ladies and gentlemen. My brothers, my sisters. What was I saying? You know what you feel. Know what you feel. And if you feel that somebody is throwing shade, if you feel like somebody is being rude, if you feel like somebody is really trying to play you, don't ignore that feeling. It doesn't matter how they try to package it. It doesn't matter if they say, oh, I'm joking. It doesn't matter if they got a whole smile on their face and they in this sweet light voice when they're doing it. The energy behind it is the truth. Pay attention to the energy that you feel. And the energy that I felt from her was, this is mean, this is abusive, this is sadistic, this is very wicked, this is cold, this is cruel. That's the energy that I felt, even though she was kind of saying it in a joking way. And what she did is she asked me to be vulnerable with her. Then she had to try to, she one-up me. Well, tried to one-up me. But it wasn't, because it was false, because she was lying. And then 2, she instantly just threw it right back in my face. So that's, that was strike 1. Then that was strike 2. Then the next thing that she did was, I can't even call it strike 3, because this wasn't strike 3 yet with her. This was foul ball. Okay, this was foul ball. Because what happened is, a couple of days later, I end up spending time with her again. This time I was inside of her house. And what happened is, the subject was brought up again, where I was talking about, me healing from my my sexual assault, my experience, because, you know, sometimes you just need somebody to talk to about stuff. You need someone to listen to you. You want to just, you know what I'm saying? Like, and the thing is, if she's like, well, we're friends now and I'm your big sister and stuff. And then, you know, they allow you to talk to them, but then they just make you feel like utter shit when you do talk to them about it. And another thing, you guys, I was also in a very vulnerable state around this time. And that's one thing that I've noticed, is that narcissists prey on the vulnerable. When you are vulnerable, when you are fragile, that is where your boundaries are weaker. And that's when they can break through those boundaries and get back into your life. And that's exactly what happened. I am woman enough to admit that I allowed her back into my life, knowing why I cut her off, knowing why I ghosted her the first time, knowing that she really ain't good for me, knowing the type of person that she is, allowed her back into my life because I was weaker. My boundaries were weaker because I was feeling lonely at the time. And I had to tell myself, do not allow your loneliness to allow toxic people back into your life. If you cut anybody off, you cut them off for a reason. Don't allow your loneliness to bring them back. We've seen that quote. Don't allow your loneliness to bring you back to toxic people. It's very true. And I had to live through an experience so I can understand how true that statement is. So I will take my responsibility with that. I can hold myself accountable. I'm like, you know what? It was because my boundaries were not as strong. So now I got to keep my boundaries strong. It's like, even when I'm sad, even when I'm feeling broken, even when I'm feeling vulnerable, even when I'm feeling fragile, I have to keep my boundaries strong because I have to protect myself. Because in this spiritual war that we are in, your lack of boundaries, because of your fragility, is easy prey for people to come and attack you. The enemy waits for you to be in those positions to come and attack you, because the enemy feels they'll be more successful at attacking you. And a lot of times the enemy is successful at attacking you. And the enemy will continue to attack you back to back to back as long as you have allowed the enemy access into your life. Have you ever heard about vampires and how a vampire has to be invited in to your home or they can't come in? There's this movie called Let Me In. It's with Chloe Grace Moretz. She was a little girl when she made this one. And she was a vampire. And she had befriended this little boy. And she showed up to his house. She's like in his doorstep. And he opens the door. And she doesn't walk in. And he's like, what are you waiting on? And she goes, you have to invite me in. You have to invite me in. So then he says, okay, you can come in. And that's how it is with energy vampires. And narcissists are energy vampires. And this person I'm talking about specifically, this neighbor of mine, she's also an energy vampire. And, you know, I have way more topics about this, about energy vampires and dealing with them, you know, so please subscribe for more content. But I want to just address things just one topic at a time. So she's definitely an energy vampire. And you have to allow them into your life. You have to let them in. You have to say, it's okay for you to be in my space. It's okay for you to be in my life again. And I basically gave her the okay. And when you give them the okay, a vampire is always going to be a vampire. You allow them into your life, like how a vampire sucks your blood, an energy vampire sucks your energy away. They drain you of your energy at any way they can get it. You know, draining you is also putting you down. That's another way that they drain your energy. That's why energy vampires are so, you know, that's why they like to put people down and belittle them so much, because that is draining your energy. It's making you feel bad. And they're gaining off of hurting you. They are getting fuel and energy by hurting you. Because when we are hurt, it can hurt us. It can lower our vibration, and they can feed off of it. So one thing that happened is we were back to the incident when we were inside of her home. Now, this was after we had the conversation at night and she was saying those couple of things to me. Now it's a couple of days later. We are in her home. And I bring up the subject again because I had wanted to talk about it. You know, because I had really felt that I was suffering in silence about that situation. Like, I didn't have very many people that I really could confide in about it. You know what I'm saying? So that was that loneliness, right? But what happened is when I had started to mention it to her, she cut me off mid-sentence. That's another thing that narcissists do. They love to cut you off mid-sentence so that they can redirect the conversation to where they want it to be. They want to be in control of everything. CC, they cut you off to control you. They cut you off so that they can control you. If they could cut you off mid-sentence, cut off your thoughts, they can control you to be who they want you to be. And you don't deserve that. And I realized I didn't deserve that. But what she did is she cut me off mid-sentence and was like, okay, it happened to me since I was 3 in my foster home. Get over it. But sweetie, how would you know that was happening to you at 3 years old? There you go, lying again. You know, at first this really made me so angry because I'm thinking, I allowed you into my life. I allowed you into my energetic space. And this is how you do me. And the thing is, she wasted no time. She wasted no time. It was like I hadn't let you in and then you started doing stuff from the jump. Yeah. But anyway, so she was saying, yeah, get over it, get over it. And me being more vulnerable at the time, I was just like, okay, yeah, you're right. I should just let it go. And I'm looking back at that situation, screaming at myself like, no, baby, don't do that. Don't allow her to do that to you. Don't allow her to gaslight you. Don't gaslight yourself because she's gaslighting you. I'm like, no, baby, your feelings are valid. Don't do that to yourself. And when I eventually walked away from that situation, I continued to validate myself for that experience. Like, no, baby, what you went through was rough. Like, you really went through rock bottom. Do not allow anybody, not even just her. Don't allow anybody to make you feel that way. And then I also had to recognize that I'm like, you know what? Let's see this in a different perspective. What she's doing is she likes to invalidate her own traumas. She likes to run away from her pain. She doesn't like to face her demons. So because she can't face them, because she doesn't have the strength to face her demons, she doesn't have the courage. Like, it's not even just her. Because narcissists do not have the strength to face their demons. They don't have the courage to look in the mirror. They not man enough. They not woman enough to deal with their own issues. And they like to run. What they like to do is they like to force other people to be in the same position as them. So when you are trying to, and the thing is, this is how their trauma bonds always backfire on them. Because while they're sitting there trying to trauma bond the people, it's like, baby, you trauma bonding, you gonna be running into your traumas too. You gonna have to start facing your traumas too. So if you don't want to face your traumas and stop trauma bonding with people, this is how you dumb these people. And the thing is, this narcissistic spirit really thinks that they are outsmarting you, but the whole time they're setting themselves up for failure. While they're setting you up for failure, they're also setting themselves up for failure because it's gonna backfire every time. So what she was doing is that, you know, she wanted to trauma bond with me and talk about it and stuff. But then when the subject kept being brought up, then all of a sudden she's feeling triggered. She's feeling unsettled. She's feeling uneasy. Like narcissists, they feel unsettled. They feel uneasy. They feel uncomfortable. They don't want to deal with that issue. Their nervous system is all dysregulated. They can't face it. But because they can't admit that they're being triggered, they would rather, and what they're doing is they're invalidating their own traumas. They're trying to run away from themselves. So they want to try to get you to run away from yourself. That's what they're projecting. How a narcissist handles you is a mirror reflection of how they feel about themselves and how they handle themselves. How a narcissist talks to you is a mirror reflection of how they talk to themselves. The way that a narcissist interacts with you is all projection. It's all projection. They're just projecting their own pain onto you. They have all of this pain and they're just looking for a person to dump all of their pain on, dump all of their insecurities on. That's all that's about. And when I had realized that I deserve better than that, that I deserve to have connections in my life where I can open up about my vulnerabilities and no one's going to judge me, no one's going to invalidate me, but people are going to give me the space to feel heard, to feel seen. I know those are the type of connections that I deserve because those are the same connections that's exactly how I show up in the connections that I give to people. I give people that space. So I'm not about to be having a relationship in my life where what I give is not reciprocated. So I'm looking at that situation. I'm like, you know what? Thank you exactly for responding that way. Thank you for showing me your true colors. Thank you for showing me who you are. And thank you for showing me that I need to just leave you alone. Thank you for showing me that I need to be completely done with you. Thank you for spinning the block and showing me that you ain't changed not one bit. Thank you. Thank you. I'm telling you, when we start thanking the narcissist for showing up so we can learn these lessons, I guarantee you a lot of the anger you're going to have towards them is going to go away. I guarantee you. It's going to start to go away because it's like, thank you for doing that. Thank you for letting me know that I need to cut you off for good. And thank you for letting me know that I need to stay in no contact with you. Thank you for letting me know that my feelings and my emotions and my experiences are valid and that no person on this earth could ever invalidate my experience. Thank you for letting me know that I need to advocate for myself a whole lot more. Thank you for letting me know that it's me who validates my feelings and my emotions. And that if anybody else thinks otherwise, they are not for me. You are either for me or against me. Thank you for letting me know that you are not for me. And if you are not for me, you are against me. Thank you for letting me know what side you reside on. Thank you. Thank you. So these narcissists, when they come around and they want to trauma bond to you, they do this in the effort to bring you down to be as low as them. They want you to stay stuck in your traumas. They want you to stay stuck in your past. They want you to avoid your healing. They want to slow down your progress. And narcissists, when they see you progressing and really growing and evolving, they want to come into your lane. They want to insert themselves in your lane to slow down your progress. And if you keep them around long enough, they will slow you down. You're going to get back to your own divine flow when you release them from your energy, when you cut the cord, when you tell them to get out of your lane, you tell them to just remove yourself. You get them out of your life, however you need to. Because the thing is, narcissists feel so entitled to be in your life, but they have no interest in changing their behaviors or evolving as a person. But they feel entitled to your energy, and they feel entitled to treat you any your kind of way. And they feel like you allowing them in your life is a God-given privilege to them. When you know. And that's how the enemy works. The enemy is going to come disguised as an angel of light, but really they're demonic. It's a demonic spirit that these narcissists have, to feel like they can come into your life and treat you any your kind of way. They can come into your life and not give you love. Because everything that they do is not of love. Throwing someone's trauma in their face, making mockery of it, is not of love. That is an act of hatred. Let us call a spade a spade. This ain't about nobody being too sensitive. We're going to call a spade a spade. This ain't nobody overthinking. This ain't nobody reading too much into it. Because a lot of times y'all want to say reading too much into it, being too sensitive, because your intuition is screaming at you and you want to either ignore that intuition, that gut wrenching feeling that you are having. You want to deny it. No, we're not doing that. Let's call a spade a spade. That's an act of hatred to throw somebody's trauma in their face. It ain't about take a joke, make a joke. Joke about things that are funny. And I'm sorry, but being raped is not funny. As a woman that was raped more than once, it's not funny. The trauma that I've dealt with, the PTSD that I've had to overcome, the therapy that I've had to, how it's been times when I've had to just pray when those PTSD thoughts was ruminating my mind, and those intrusive thoughts, the only thing I could think of was to pray, to go to God and say, Lord, can you please remove these thoughts from my mind? Please heal my mind. And if you've never gone through that, you will never understand. But to those of you that have gone through it, one, I'm so sorry. I'm glad to see somebody understands my pain. And it's not funny for me. It's not funny for you. Like, I would hate to see somebody making fun of or making a mockery of your traumas that you've been through. If you've been through something like that, I would do not laugh at them, because it's not funny. Because we don't have to settle and gaslight ourselves and invalidate our own emotions or our own trauma just because our traumas make people uncomfortable. It's like, yeah, it's making you uncomfortable, but how you think we feel when we was the ones that actually went through it? People can be so selfish, where because your traumas are making them uncomfortable, they feel like, oh, well, I just can't. I have to move away from them. I have to create distance. I have to leave them where they are. I can't handle this. I'm not going to offer them any type of support. I'm just too uncomfortable. It's just all about me. But you know what? It's not always about you. When you love people, sometimes you gonna sit there with them in their feelings, in their hurt, in their anger. Sit there, create a safe space for them, even if it makes you a little bit uncomfortable, because it's reminding you of, whether it's making you uncomfortable because you don't know how to handle this, you don't know what advice to give them, you haven't experienced this, it's too painful to hear, or whether it's making you uncomfortable because it's reminding you of a trauma that you have been through. But when you love people, you'll sit there through those uncomfortable feelings to be there for the people that you love and care about. You can't say you love and care about somebody if you can't give them the space to talk about their pain. And that's the thing. Narcissists, they want you to open up about your pain, but they don't even want to give you the space to do so, because you know how awful that makes people feel. That's exactly why they do it. They just want to give you hatred and call it love. Oh, come on. Narcissists just want to give you hatred, but call it love. They want to confuse your mind about what love is. They want to instill doubt in your mind about what love is. They want to basically retell the narrative of what love is, but everything that they give is not of love. Everything that they give is hatred. It's deception. They want to come into your life and act like they are your hero, act like they are your savior, when really they want to come into your life and be your biggest arch enemy, be your biggest arch rival. They want to come here and they want to be your villain. They don't want to come here and be your victor, your victory person. They want to come in here and they want to be your villain. And then what they want to do is, while they are being your villain, they want to play the victim. That's why it's so sadistic. It's just so crazy what you go through, because it's like you are the villain and you are playing the victim, and you play the role of the victim so well that other people are believing you, and other people are thinking that I'm the villain when I'm the one that's been hurt. So everybody that has every single person that's dealt with the narcissist understands that statement. They came into your life, they played the villain, then played the victim, and had everybody looking at you like you were the villain. So not only are you hurt and traumatized and broken down, you're also shamed, humiliated, mortified, frustrated. All of these negative emotions that you are experiencing through this psychological torture. Narcissists torture people. This is not just no ordinary abuse. This ain't no just average bullying or average harassment or average assault. It's torture. And how do you torture a person? Is by consistently putting them through pain and unpleasant, uncomfortable situations with no remorse. Consistently. And that's exactly what they do. Narcissists torture people. And that neighbor of mine, with that narcissistic spirit, because it's not even about the person, it's the spirit that we fighting against. So that spirit jumped inside my neighbor, and that neighbor came over here just to torture me. But the thing that was different is even though I had weaker boundaries around that time, my spirit had gotten stronger, because my spirit was able to really awaken and be like, she's still the same. That's still that spirit. Get away. And I listened and I got away. She wasn't even in my life more than 2 weeks, y'all. And it's not like we were speaking consistently every single day. It'll be like saw her, then would see her a few days later, then would see her a few days later. Few days go by, a couple days go by, see her again. So it was like, over a duration of maybe like a week and a half. I saw her a few times, right? And that's what happened. And when I realized that this narcissist hadn't changed, I instantly cut that situation off. Left it alone. It was like, I'm not dealing with this. Because the lesson that I learned is don't let your loneliness bring back those low vibrational people. Don't allow your energy to be so pure that you allow these energetic vampires to leech off of you. Don't allow disrespect to slide. If you feel disrespected in the moment, go off of that feeling and check them right then and there. Because if you don't check them right then and there, you're going to be at war with yourself and feeling resentment towards yourself until you address that situation, until you address that feeling that you have. And maybe you won't feel no peace until you address the person directly. Addressing them. Letting off your chest what you wanted to say. I didn't say it then, but now I got something to say to you. Is I don't want to go through more moments of that. Where it's weeks later and now I'm coming back and saying what I got to say because I didn't say it in the moment. No, say what you feel in the moment. Don't allow anybody in your life that's invalidating your experiences and your traumas. If they can't hold space for you, they're not for you. If they invalidate your traumas and your pain when you wouldn't do the same, cut them loose, let them go. And don't trust anybody that makes a mockery of your pain after they just asked you to be vulnerable with them. It was bait. Them asking you about your about what's going on with you is bait. And if we take the bait and we are vulnerable with them, they like, all right, now I can throw it back. I can throw it back in your face. Don't trust anybody that does that because those people know exactly what they're doing. Don't trust anybody that's, trying to throw shade through a joke, that's trying to insult you, but disguising it as a joke. Don't trust people like that. Don't be around people that just tell you to just get over it when you've been through something very traumatic and very difficult. If it's something that you are, struggling to heal from, struggling to overcome, do not have anybody in your life that's telling you to just easily just get over that. It boils down to don't have anybody in your life that doesn't have empathy. Because if you have people in your life that do not have any empathy, they won't be able to give that empathy to you that you are searching for or that you are wanting in relationships, because that's the same empathy you give. Relationships are about give and take. And if you are giving empathy, they're taking your empathy, but they're giving you apathy. They're giving you lack of empathy. They're giving you pain while you're giving them love. They're giving you hatred while you're giving them love. No, they're rewarding your good with evil. No, do not have people in your life that will reward your good with evil. You do good to them and they do something evil to you in return. You give them love and they give you hatred in return. Do not have people around you like that. Do not. Narcissism is a spirit that is lingering within so many people. And the more that we are able to discern it, the more we are able to identify it, the wiser we become and the better off we will be. That's all I have to say for this one. I love y'all, family. Catch y'all in the next video. Ashe.